Un ancien grand marchand d'art, il a fondé la République autonome de Rimail à bord d'un vaisseau qui explore des eaux en pleine mutation. J'appelle Theodore Bajard.
Hello everyone. I'm going to speak in English because we have an international audience, and I want first to thank you for being here. I mean, it's a great privilege to finally meet a lot of people from the immersive experience field. I wasn't in that industry for, only here for the last 3 years, and before I was working in the art world. So for me, it's great to be able to meet most of you as storytellers and decision makers for the future of the field. So it's a great pleasure to be here. As we are in the immersive world, I'm also going to start a soundscape because I love to tell stories supported by also sound, and I believe this frequency is very important to create this atmosphere and this moment between us, because at the end we are all creators of moments. I'm going to start here. So this is a forest of Sintra in Portugal. For those who know that forest, it's a very specific and beautiful place where a lot of magic and mystery happens. In that place, I was invited to write my own eulogy. An eulogy is a text that you write for a person who is going to be buried during a funeral. And it was a great exercise of realizing what was important during my life and how I consider myself, thinking that I'm talking to myself dying. Then the evening came and I was invited to participate in my own death ritual. I first met with that person right here. Her name was Azrael. She was the angel of death. She welcomed me with a kiss made of wax. She put a coin on my forehead. And she told me that everything's going to be fine. I can just walk my way, find my path. I will be at peace. I kept walking this beautiful path in the mystical forest, this lush garden, where I met someone else, a very interesting one. His name is Caron. He's a boatman on the river of the Styx. He's a guardian. He's here to make sure your soul can go to the afterworld. And when I arrived to him, he took a piece of my hair, burned it, and gave me the ashes. I was ready to go to the next stage, to enter the crypt. In that place, I put my ashes on the altar. It was a moment where I was really going into physically leaving a piece of myself in that place with a word of Socrates: may death be the ultimate and the greatest life blessing. After this moment, 2 women were invited me to walk different stairs. I was in that space where I didn't know really if I was dreaming or if it was still real. I couldn't tell. The only thing I was feeling was this very fresh and beautiful wind in that forest, and I was surrounded by a lot of fireflies, all flying around me. I saw this woman very in a sacred and ritualistic way, asking me to lay down on this altar. I laid down on this altar, just looking at the stars. When they started to read my eulogy, they started to read my own profile, my own words of me going to the afterworld, and they started to touch my body. Step by step, my feet first, telling me that I don't need them anymore. These feet, by been stepping the ground, stepping the sand, I can let go and release of them. And then she went all the way up. I couldn't feel anything of that physical vessel and body. I saw my life, all these flashes, these moments from my childhood, my teenagers' years. I saw all the love, all the sorrow. I was slowly elevating, going up, levitating, looking at myself from far, crying all I could cry, all the emotion was coming out. It was a deep moment of introspection, a deep moment of finally deciding to let go of my life, of what it means to be alive. I was ready, I was light. And then I heard two voices in my ears whispering, "This is not your time yet. You still have a mission on earth." Came back to myself. Everything came back. I stood up, I looked up, the stars, my life, my destiny, and I was ready. I was ready, I was full of life, I was full of power, I was full of will, I was full of a new strength to go and to directly dive into my life. This whole scene was fabricated by a team of psychologists, hypnotherapists, actors, artists, passionate people that were coming together and creating a ritual, a pure immersive, where people look at that experience and they really told me at the end of the experience, you realize the most profound mind game and mind trick I ever lived. For me, at this moment, I was convinced that all my life was designed to arrive to this place and to finally let go and die. And this is why I want to go to the next stage where, what is reality? Up, 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 up. Can you do it for me? Thank you. What is reality? And I think, of course, neuroscience, and you're all aware of that, showed us that basically reality is a piece of flesh in a dark box that receives a lot of stimulation. And this dark box is literally receiving every second 10 millions of bits that your body and your sensors are sending to that little piece of flesh. And we are receiving consciously, and we are only aware about 50 bits per second. Everything else goes to the unconscious. We are basically not perceiving the world, we are actively generating as we speak and as we think. We are, from the inside out, creating our own reality. This reality is based on two parameters: intention and attention. I have your attention, you have the right intention of listening to me and to learn something today, then suddenly you shifted and all your senses are directed to my voice and what you see maybe that screen. There are a group of people who are amazing doing that and play with this concept of reality, and they are artists. You're all artists somehow, but for 10 years I was every day spending my time with people who can bend, transform, see, and express their reality in a different way. They were the artists. And for me, art has this exceptional power to challenge the perception of reality, but also be a vessel for transformation, evolution, and to bring culture forward. More than that, I believe the artists are guides. I believe they are visionaries. I believe they have a vision that will be in the future the vision of everyone. They are the one who pushing forwards, pushing the boundaries of what is possible. The artists are bridging the conscious and the unconscious. They're looking for signs, they're looking for symbols, they're looking for messages and insight that is placed all inside of you. Joseph Beuys, very important character in the 20th century, he was actually quite disrupting the whole scene of art, bridging life and art. For him, we are all artists, and by being all artists, we can creatively we can create our reality based on our creativity. And he creates social sculpture, which is transforming our reality for good and for the evolution of society. Gesamtkunstwerk, that word, which is I'm not pronouncing well, means total art. And we all saw that in different pronunciations, that was a word initiated by Richard Wagner in the opera, who was the first one to bring sound, but also visuals, poetry, dance in an opera piece, which completed the experience as a total form of art, which for me is basically the grandfather of immersive, or what we're doing. And this is why it's very important, because immersive experience are total piece of art. They're using all the mediums, sound, music, performances. You're all artists. And by saying, yes, maybe we're from the movie industry or the entertainment or divertissement or it's acting, or people are quite confused, but actually you are encapsulating everything that goes into art, even for human tempo, because art has a real objective and really aiming at make people think about themselves in a very introspective way, because you're opening the door for something new and something very transformative without even knowing. When people go to these experiences, there is a personal exploration. There is a line which is blurred between fiction and reality. And this is where we enter a very specific space. And even a psychedelic experience. Think about the word psychedelic. I'm not talking about psilocybin or DMT or whatever you've been smoking before. Psychedelic in a term of Greek term, which is psyche, the mind, the soul, delum, that reveal, that manifests the mind. Psychedelic is actually what manifests the mind and what manifests the soul, what reveals the soul. Every immersive experience is a door, an opportunity to look at yourself, to look at your reality, to look at the fabric of life with another point of view. It's a new approach, it's a new opportunity to dive into this. We transcend ordinary perception, because at the end of the day, what we take away from Le Puy du Fou or Terminator 2 or exploring the world of Dali is not just like a raw emotion of like a rush of dopamine. It's not just like, oh, a lot of things in my eyes and I felt so much. No, what is connecting people together is the raw emotion of meaning. They suddenly had the opportunity to create an arc of meaning. Something was meaningful to them at that moment because they felt something else about themselves. They felt they had the power to become someone else, and they apply this in their daily life. It's a very different molecule that activates here. Dopamine is a thirsty molecule, it's just being created and you always want more. When you have meaning and you come out of the experience, oxytocin is created. It lasts longer, it goes deeper into your being. Then, it's a door to our psyche. Interestingly enough, think about the subconscious. When you are dreaming, and in your dream something happened that suddenly the world turned into chaos and you're on an island, your mind is convinced, you are convinced that this is happening. What is happening there is like your subconscious doesn't know the difference between a fiction and a reality. If you go to a place where everyone suddenly is a vampire, you know that it's not real, but do you really know? Your subconscious doesn't know. It imprints a lot of information back there in the back of your mind that you keep for your life forever, and we kind of condition the way you see and experience reality. I believe we do have a great responsibility in understanding what experience design comes with and what is actually on our shoulders to make sure that we transform, transmute alternative realities for also the good of the audience that we are working with and we want to share something with. Having created for the last 3 years more than 50 different experiences on several days for hundreds of people, I did see how important something which seems very like a detail or maybe like a nuance can impact profoundly and change totally the destiny of one's life. You all heard of liminal space. When you open a liminal space, limen in Latin, that means the edge, the threshold. A liminal space is a rite of passage. A liminal space is a moment of transition, it's a moment of realization. When you open these spaces, something shifted in you, something is being transformed. And it's a very, very, very powerful tool. We go from our private places to the office sometimes, to maybe like nature, but you have the fourth space, which could be, you know, VR talking about Dali. This is a very interesting liminal space. Understand the power of this liminal space and how they impact the psyche. And finally, what makes a difference, I would say, is all about the intentions of what we put into the experience. There is something very profound that is being transformed and is being transmuted when you create an experience, and it becomes a seed of what people are going to feel and what people are going to become an experience. We are, just by thinking about this pure intention of what we want to create for others, it will give a flavor and a taste that will literally have a great impact on people's psyche. So let's remind ourselves that we are creating dreams, that reality is nothing but a dream we are dreaming together. And in that context, if you know how we can trigger the right buttons, we can instillate the right stories, and we can send the right intention, then we can make sure that the immersive experience of today will determine the evolution of a culture and society tomorrow. Thank you so much.